This is Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia. Here is Community Information Kevin Captain.
Good morning and welcome to Volusia Today. I'm Kevin Captain and I'm joined by my co-host Gary Davidson. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Volusia Today is made possible by our sponsors, the Daytona Beach International Airport, the Ocean Center, Volusia Recycles, and Votran Public Transportation. Good morning, Gary.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. So we just flipped the page on the calendar to June.
Can you believe it?
Where's the time go?
I say that every day.
Yes, you do. As you know, we try to be educational on the show and provide helpful tips to our listeners. And so with that in mind, I'm going to share the secret for preventing a summer cold. Do you know how to do that, Kevin?
Oh, how do you prevent a summer cold? I don't know.
I'm surprised you don't know the answer because it should be fairly obvious. You can prevent a summer cold by catching it in the winter.
Oh, gosh, Gary. Hey, you know how they invented mosquito repellent?
I have no idea.
They started from scratch.
Oh, my word.
Oh, geez. Enough dad jokes. We got to get on with the show, right?
Absolutely. So in addition to corny jokes and the heat, this time of year is all about something very important, particularly here in Florida, and that's making sure that we're prepared for hurricane season. So in just a few minutes, Volusia County's Interim Emergency Management Director, Jim Judge, is going to tell us everything that we need to know to be storm ready.
Excellent. But first, Gary, we have also in the studio is Clay Jackson. He's the Human Services Manager with Volusia County's Human Services Division. Good morning, Clay. Thanks for being on the show again with us.
Hey, good morning, guys. Absolutely. It's my pleasure to come on.
So tell us a little bit about the summer food program, just starting from scratch.
This is one of my favorite programs to talk about. The summer food program, it always kicks off the Monday after school ends, and it goes all the way to the Friday right before school is back in for session. One reason I love this program is because there's no income requirement for this program. What most social services, there's an income threshold, like a household of one must meet $24,000. This program, it doesn't matter if a child's family makes $30,000 a year or $300,000 a year. So it's open to all children who are 18 years of age or younger. And they also don't even have to provide proof of income. The parents or guardians do not even have to register the child. Essentially, they just show up to a site. They are able to grab their food, consume it on site, and then they can be on their merry way. The good thing about the summer food program also is the food is delivered on a daily basis to all of our sites. And this year we have about 55 unique sites that have signed up right now. Now, obviously that could change. We could have other sites. Maybe if you're listening out there right now, you're a nonprofit, daycare, what have you, and you're interested in becoming a site, give our office a call and we can walk you through and see if you may qualify. And we have about 55 as of right now unique sites participating, and those are actually separate because the school board, they're actually going to be offering more than 30 sites ran this year. So if a site is operating within a community, daycare, church, Boys and Girl Club, YMCA, that's actually sponsored by the County of Volusia. If a summer food feeding site is taking place at a public school, that's actually ran by the Schoolway Cafe by the school district.
That's terrific. And the summer food program, it just provides so much support in the community. But it occurs to me that some of our listeners, they may be wondering why Volusia County even does this in the first place. What's the motivation for the county to provide the summer program, the summer food program? Why do we do it?
Somebody has to step up when school is out for summer. There are some children out there, in not just our community, but across the nation, that the breakfast and lunch that they receive while they're in school, that may be the only nutritional meals or maybe the only meals that they even receive. So somebody has to step up to the plate and say, hey, we're going to make sure that the children in our community are taken care of and their nutritional needs are being met. And that's why we're stepping up. And it's not just right now because of the nutrition, but it's also the cost factor. Inflation is going crazy.
Sure. Gas
and food prices. We've all been to the grocery store. My wife is blown away by like how much we're having to buy or expend now. And this this program provides an opportunity that it could alleviate some of that financial burden on the parents and guardians of, instead of them, even if they don't work and they stay home with their children during the summer, instead of them having to spend their own funds to purchase and prepare meals, they say, hey, there's a County of Volusia that's got a site 2 miles down from my house. Let's go down there and we can get our children breakfast and lunch. And that's going to all summer. All summer.
What a wonderful service.
Absolutely.
It is amazing. And I didn't realize 55 sites. And did you say 30 of those 55 are school?
No, 55 sites ran by the County of Volusia. And then there are additional more than 30 sites that are going to be operating by the school board. So there would be approximately about 85 to 90 sites
that's
throughout
amazing.
the entire county that are going to be available.
So of all those sites and all those meals distributed from all those sites, who pays for this? Is it grant money? Is it from the general fund? I mean, where does the money come from to pay for the food?
This is 100% funded by the state of Florida's Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Sciences. Whew, that's a mouthful.
That is a long division.
Yeah, and that are actually funded by the United States Department of Agriculture. And the way it works is every year we submit an application. We have this many sites. This is our program. These are our menus. And then once it's approved, we actually have a food vendor that distributes meals on a daily basis to all of our 55 plus sites. And then we're able to show the meal tickets, the number of eligible meals that we serve, and then the county's able to claim reimbursement from the state to pay for those meals. So,
That's
yeah.
wonderful. And so now that we know that pretty much any child can qualify, I'm guessing that the next number one question is what kind of food is served. So can you give us a rundown on the menu, Clay?
The food, it varies day by day. Like I said, kids going to get bored if we serve them the same thing day in and day out.
Sure.
So we have a good variety of meals. They have sandwiches, fruit, vegetables. So the good thing is we're not feeding these kids junk food. Like I said, all of our food, we're here to meet the nutritional needs of our children, but also giving them something that they're going to actually consume and eat. So all of our meals, they meet the school food guidelines. So any meal that we serve has already been approved by the state, saying that, yes, this meets the nutritional standards that the school board also adheres to.
So if a family is interested and they want to participate in the program, they want to get some breakfast or lunch, where can they find information on where these 80-some sites are?
The best thing that I like to tell people, because most people do have internet access these days, is go to summerbreakspot.org. And when you go to that website, there's actually a little button that says Find a Site. They're able to click that, and then they can enter their address, and then it will pop up all the sites near them, and it gives their address, their feeding time, and so forth, or if they're going to be closed for a day or so. But that is the most real time, because like I said, we have 55 sites right now, but that's not to say next week or 2 weeks we may get another site or two that says, hey, we want to jump in and help as well. So once they're approved, we'll be able to add that site as well. Obviously, you could contact United Way 211. They have information about where our sites are, as well as you could always call our main administrative office where our summer food team is located, and that telephone number is 386-736-5956.
And can you tell us, Clay, what changes? I know you had implemented a great deal of changes during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Are we back to pre-pandemic, and how does that differ with the food delivery and distribution?
Yes. Well, prior to 2020, when a child came on site to get food, and obviously to make sure everybody knows this, you do not have to be accompanied by a parent, or a child does not. We have some children who walk and some children ride their bikes. So I just want to make that clear that a parent does not have to be present with a child to get a food. But prior to the pandemic, a child would arrive on site, they go through the feeding line, they get their meal, and then they come and they would consume the meal while they're on site. They were not allowed to leave the site. During the pandemic, because of COVID, social distancing was a big issue, and the state actually allowed for grab-and-go meals, where parents and their children, once the children with them, they could come, get their meals for the day, and then they could leave. Obviously, we still have COVID going on, but the state has told us everybody's operating back to pre-pandemic protocol. So the 2020 and 2021, the children are allowed to grab their meals and then consume them at their house or wherever they would like. But starting this year, starting Monday, it's back to pre-pandemic protocol where a child has to actually get the food and then consume it on site.
Got it. Terrific information. Clay, thank you for everything you're doing to help meet those nutritional needs out there in the community. Before we close this segment of the show, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Not really. The only thing
I think he summed it up.
Just one last call. Like I said, the more sites we have available in the community, the more children we're possibly able to serve. So if there's any nonprofit, daycare, anybody, a group of citizens who are interested in serving children, please call our telephone number, get 386-736-5956. Let us know you're interested in potentially being a summer food feeding site, and we'll do an assessment to see if you qualify. 'Cause that's really the last thing I want to leave on is just because the program started, we'll start Monday, you can still become a site and we can get you going.
So even though you got what you said, somewhere around 85 sites, including the school district, you can still accommodate more.
Oh, we're always looking for more.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
That's great. Clay
Terrific.
Jackson, Human Services Manager, thank you so much for being on the show and for what your team does with the summer food program.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great. With that, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Interim Emergency Management Director Jim Judge.
Hunger doesn't take a summer break. Children who depend on school meals during the year often miss out on these wholesome meals during the summer months. We need your help to make sure our children are fed during the summer. Volusia County government will sponsor the Summer Break Spot food program. Summer Break Spot provides breakfast and or lunch to all children ages 18 and younger in areas where at least 50% of the children are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. Volusia County will provide the food, but we need sites and volunteers. Churches, social service agencies, and private nonprofits can help us feed children simply by providing a safe place for them to eat. Approved sites will receive meals to serve to the children. There is no cost to the organization, and the county will provide free training. If your organization would like to sponsor a summer food site, please call 386-736-5956. Summer Break Spot. When school is out, summer food is in.
And we're back. I'm Gary Davidson along with Kevin Captain, and you're listening to Volusia Today, a public information program brought to you by the County of Volusia.
Thanks, Gary. With us now is Jim Judge. He's the Interim Emergency Management Director, the Deputy Public Protection Director, the Chief Joke Teller, the excellent storyteller. Jim, you've got so many hats that you wear.
He does it all.
Absolutely. So I just had the privilege of being at the Emergency Operations Center yesterday in the operations room, an amazing building facility that Volusia County has. You and your team were delivering what we call the EM Partners Meeting, the Emergency Management Partners Meeting. You had all the public agencies and municipalities and cities, schools, universities. That's a busy facility year-round, but yesterday in particular is incredibly busy, and it was all about those phases of the disaster, like particularly preparation and mitigation. So, what was it? What is it like for you, and what should we all be kind of planning for here with some activity down south?
Well, you know, Kevin, it was wonderful, as you mentioned, to have that meeting yesterday with so many people from all across the county participating. And as the comment that I made, that it really, their presence yesterday at that meeting really shows their commitment to Volusia County.
Sure does.
And not only the preparedness, but the response and also the recovery aspects of either a tropical storm or even a hurricane or other things that come our way. So that's the beauty of Volusia County, is so many outstanding professionals. And when I did ask for a show of hands, who was the first time, going through a tropical storm or hurricane, there were only a couple of names that came up, hands that went up. So, we do have a seasoned workforce when it comes to dealing with hurricanes, tornadoes, and other anomalies that we face every year.
So
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry to jump on you, but there's that activity that's just off the Yucatan Peninsula. It was Agatha. Now looks like it's going to be Alex. What do you expect us to go through this weekend?
Well, right now we're watching the weather, as you can imagine, extremely close, and it keeps changing. Right now it was was going to be just a tropical disturbance. Now it looks like it could be a tropical storm. There were watches that were placed last night, and then again tropical storm warnings from Brevard County all the way south. So the situation continues to be dynamic and it's changing, which is typical for these events. The good news is that we're on the northern edge of it. So right now we're looking at about 1 to 2 inches of rain, and we're a little bit, quite honestly, unsure of exactly what our wind is going to be. So our next briefing with the National Weather Service out of Melbourne is going to be noon, and then also we're going to do a one-on-one call with the National Weather Service out of Melbourne to find out exactly the conditions for Volusia County. What is the rain we can expect? What is the wind that we can expect across the county? Because obviously we have a lot of assets on the beach that we want to make sure that we're protecting, as well as making sure the citizens have the best information available for Volusia County. So we'll be working with you guys, later today with that. So again, the conditions continue to change. We're monitoring those changes, and we will continue to push information out as we know it to be.
Terrific. So let's talk a little bit about preparations, Jim, and not just for this weekend, but for the storm season in general. Hopefully everyone has their storm plan in place. They've made their preparations to protect themselves, their family, their property. But if there are people out there who haven't completed their preparations, maybe some of them haven't even started yet, what should residents be doing right now to get ready?
Well, right now, it's a good idea to look in the pantry. If we have power outages, and we have, with Hurricanes Irma, with Hurricanes Matthew, we lost power, 50% of the county without power. So think about the fact that you lost power. How are you going to get along?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have those battery-operated lanterns, flashlights? What type of food do you have in the pantry? Just all those types of things that go along with a power outage. Do you have an AM/FM radio so that if your cell phone dies and you don't have those extra little chargers to keep it going, how are you going to listen to the local news to keep in touch? So, just thinking about what would I do if we had the power outages, and what would I do if, we have a significant storm coming our way. So I'm a big proponent for protecting your home. For me, I just use plywood. A lot of folks have those storm-resistant windows. You can get those corrugated metal panels to put up, the factory-made,
right,
which work very well. So I'm a big proponent of protecting your home. Even if you're away from the water and you're in a solid home, there are people that choose to evacuate. By the time you get on the highway, you try to find a destination, you're paying for gas, hotels. Take that money and put it into your home so that you don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
But of course, if you're on the barrier island, mobile home park, RV park, low-lying area, if we get a strong tropical storm or even a Cat 1 hurricane, we are going to evacuate to barrier island, low-lying areas, RV parks, mobile home parks, because that's just the right thing to do, because we never know with a storm coming in off the Atlantic what the storm surge is going to do. And if a storm is a Category 1, we always plan for one higher. So we would plan for a Category 2. So, out of an abundance of precaution, we're going to make sure that we advise residents to get out of harm's way.
Plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of what Jim says. And you mentioned shelters, and you've mentioned before that shelters are an absolute last resort. They're what do you call it? You call it the
yeah. It's not the love boat. It's the lifeboat.
It's the lifeboat. That's great. There's also that, to me, there's ambiguity with how much food you should have on hand if you decide to shelter in place. Sometimes I've heard people say, well, you need a week's worth, or you need a month's worth, or only a couple of days worth. But if you lose power and your refrigerator and your freezer, you don't want to open it up, how much food really should we have for those what ifs?
Well, and we've looked at that quite a bit. We recommend at least 3 days. Not only 3 days of food and water. Of course, have that portable can, the non-electric can opener. So if you have those cans, you can access that. And then how are you going to cook the food? You have a barbecue grill, that you can fire up.
Gary's
on the
got
outside. And I know Kevin's got a barbecue grill that we're all going to utilize. But, having the pantry, having a little extra items in there, and it doesn't have to be substantial. How about a jar of peanut butter, and a loaf of bread? That's what I keep at the office.
Sure.
Has sustained me through many different long hours.
Peanut butter and jelly. Well, that's an American staple.
And, a couple of years ago, one of the biggest items that was purchased prior to a hurricane was strawberry Pop-Tarts. And if you think about it, well, if the power's on, you can toast them, put a little butter. or eat them right out of the box. So, give that some thought. Fruit, apples, oranges, they last for a while, and they're nutritious. So, just plan a little extra items in the pantry, but also extra water on hand, always comes in handy. We always say 1 gallon per person per day, but then also don't forget the pets. But here's the thing, too, is how comfortable do you want to be?
Right.
How comfortable do you want your family to be? So, you might want to, that's the minimum. So you might want to have, my wife likes to be comfortable. So we've got a generator, we got water, we got extra food. We could probably go a couple of weeks without trouble.
I'm sure as the emergency management director for the county, you have a backup to the backup to the backup to the backup to the backup.
And my family makes fun of me because I do, I can't help it. It just goes with the territory. But really, in all honesty, being prepared. And of course, with Clayton here a little bit ago, we talked about the expensive things. And even a sheet of plywood now costs about 3 times of what it did. But here's the good news. While we have a tropical storm potential out there, we don't really see that the impacts are going to be so significant for Volusia County. But going forward, you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, a lot of the other big box stores. You can get plywood. You can have it cut for you. Right now, we are under a tax holiday until June the 10th. So you can save a few items on batteries. But also, new for this year, you can actually get pet food, pet blankets, and a lot of pet supplies that are tax-free as well. So, we have all that information is on our app. If you go to Volusia County Emergency Management at the store, you can download our app. You're going to get the weather information, there's checklists, and a wealth of information, for the public to review in order to, make sure that they are prepared for the season.
So, Jim, there's a lot of great information for instances where we're going to stay at home to ride out a storm. But what happens if a storm is headed our way and an evacuation order rather is issued? What should people do and where should they go?
That's a great question, Gary. And we have a wonderful relationship with our school district, with the superintendent and the principals. So they are our primary source of shelters other than the Volusia County Fairgrounds. The Fairgrounds is our large pet-friendly facility. But of course, at the schools, we also have special needs shelters working with the health department. The principals do an incredible job managing the facilities. But if you have friends and family or you want to stay in a hotel, that's a better way to go. Because at a school, you're going to get about 20 feet of space. What you do with that space is up to you. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get simply like a recliner that you would take to the beach that folds out,
right.
Throw a blanket over it, and you're fairly comfortable. If you do go to a shelter, bring something to read, bring some earbuds. It can be noisy. It might be warm. But again, it's going to help you get through the storm in a safe location. But a lot of times people will try to go to Georgia, or they'll try to go far away. And then you're one of the folks that unfortunately get stuck in the traffic, fuel, I got to use the restroom, and I'm on the middle of I-75. All those issues take place. So if you're going to take that trip, pack your car, first aid supplies, a roll of toilet paper, some extra water and food. Because the last place we want people to end up is on the highways as the storm is approaching. So you just have to move inland, get away from the water, hide from the wind, hotels, staying with friends, help them board up, and then also check your neighbors. You've heard me mention before, we have a lovely neighbor next door, 91 years old,
right?
Gert.
Yeah.
And Gert's wonderful. And so we help her board up. She comes over and stays at the house with us. And a funny story back during Matthew, we had several neighbors that came to the house, elderly ladies that had lost their husband. I said, bring your supplies. And they all brought a couple bottles of wine. So
Oh, geez.
that was their supplies. And, but truly, we have oftentimes we lose track of our neighbors, and it's always nice to reach out and find out what do they need help with. And you might make a friend or adopt a grandmother at the same time.
That's so important, Jim. Just like you said, is making sure your neighbors are taken care of as well, too. That's what it's all about.
It really is, and of course, first aid kits, batteries, the pantry we talked about, boarding up your home. But again, there's a wealth of information on that app you can go to that really will help you identify all the things that you can do.
We're going to take our last break and then come back and close up Volusia Today with Jim Judge. Stay with us.
Hello, Tom Sisko coming to you from the Volusia County Emergency Operations Center. Severe wind damage and flooding can be expected with any tropical cyclone. It is important that you have a plan and know how to execute it in the event of severe weather. If you live in an evacuation zone, make sure you secure your home and head for safety. Keep fresh batteries in your NOAA weather radio in the event the power goes out. And download our free emergency management app from any smart device.
Get ready, it's time for another Volusia County Fire Rescue Fire Safety Tip.
Another good tip for the kitchen is safety for the children. We want to create a 3-foot zone of safety around the stovetop so that children can't access and get burned.
You can access Volusia County government online at volusia.org. Listen to county council meetings, pay for permits or tags, or search the property appraisers' databases. Volusia.org is your Volusia County government information resource.
And we're back. I'm Gary Davidson along with Kevin Captain, and you're listening to Volusia Today, a public information program brought to you by the County of Volusia.
Thanks, Gary. So in our last less than 2 minutes, we're talking with Jim Judge, the Interim Emergency Management Director for Volusia County. Jim, a couple weeks ago we had you and Mark Swanson, the Interim Public Protection Director, your boss, and we asked him what keeps him up at night. So, you know, it's appropriate. We have to ask you this question. So you're dealing with all sorts of risks and uncertainties. Some are predictable, some are not. I mean, who would have even thought of going through a pandemic? What keeps Jim Judge up at night?
You know, I'll be honest with you, Kevin, I sleep pretty good at night. You know, I think we've got a wonderful community. We have over 92 plans in emergency management, and they're not, you know, covered in dust on a shelf somewhere. We touch those plans every year because we have to. We have to maintain them, keep them up, and then we impart that information to our community partners. We train, plan, and exercise all year long for whatever might come our way. So I sleep pretty good knowing that we're a great community, and we faced a lot of challenges, and we've met them all, and we will continue to meet those challenges in the future.
92 plans.
92 plans.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you certainly do one heck of a job, and you, as I've said, you know, the EOC is one heck of a beautiful building, and I think you also mentioned that if somebody needed to be on the East Coast here to help monitor the storm, they would choose Volusia County.
Yes, the Florida Division of Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie called and said, Jim, you know, if there was a location on the East Coast that we would like to shelter if we had to bug out of Tallahassee, could we come to Volusia County? Of course, I ran that by our county manager, and he said absolutely. So
that's amazing.
It really is.
With that, we're going to close Volusia Today. Take care, stay safe, and help your neighbors.
If you have a comment about Volusia Today, or if there is a topic you would like to hear featured, please contact Volusia County Community Information at 1-866-345-0345.